The handsome stranger, the great alien station hung above a red planet, a place where hundreds of species passed every day, buying, selling, and hiding their secrets. The air inside was thick with strange smells, glowing signs and voices in 100 different tongues. To most travelers, it felt like a maze of danger and business, but tonight, something different was about to happen. A human man walked through the busy crowd. His steps were calm, his back straight, and his eyes sharp. The aliens around him turned to look. Some frowned, some whispered, and some quickly moved aside. It was not normal to see a human here. Humans were rare in this sector. Yet what caught everyone's attention was not only that he was human, but the way he carried himself. He looked too calm, too sure. His face was clean, his eyes were bright, and his smile carried something that made people uneasy. Many aliens thought humans looked plain, but this man seemed different. His presence pulled eyes toward him like a magnet. In a shadowed corner, a tall alien woman watched. Her skin shimmered in pale silver. Her hair fell like black rivers, and her eyes were deep and sharp. She was known as dangerous. Some called her cursed, others called her powerful. Nobody dared to approach her, but when her gaze fell on the human, her lips curved slightly. She whispered to herself, "Too handsome to leave." The man stopped at a food stall. He paid with old credits, bought a drink, and did not look nervous even when alien guards walked near him. He did not bow his head or step aside. He acted as if he belonged here. That confidence was strange. The woman kept watching when the crowd thinned. She rose and walked toward him. Her steps were smooth, and the noise of the market seemed to fall quiet. Aliens near her quickly moved back, afraid of even standing in her path. When she reached the human, she spoke. Her voice was low but carried strength. "You should not be here," she said. Her eyes stayed fixed on his face. "This place eats the weak, but you are not weak. You are too handsome to leave." The man raised one eyebrow. His voice was steady, simple. "Is that a compliment or a warning?" She tilted her head, almost smiling. "Both." Around them, whispers started. Some aliens muttered in fear, some laughed nervously. No one had ever heard her speak like this to a stranger, especially not a human. He looked at her carefully. He noticed the scars on her arm, faint but old. He noticed how the crowd feared her, and yet she stood close to him. "And what happens if I do not leave?" he asked. Her eyes glowed faintly. "Then your night changes forever." Before he could answer, a loud crash came from another corner of the station. A trader shouted in panic, but no one cared. Their eyes were locked on the strange scene of the alien woman and the human standing face to face. She leaned closer. Her words, almost a whisper, meant only for him. "I want you to stay tonight. If you leave, I will not stop you, but if you stay, you will see why others fear me." The human studied her face. He saw no lie in her eyes, only a strange mix of desire and pain. For a long moment he stayed silent. His heart told him danger waited, but his pride and curiosity burned stronger. "Fine," he said quietly. "I'll stay." Her lips curved into a half smile, not of joy but of something deeper. "Then follow me," she said. The crowd broke into whispers again. A few aliens shook their heads, muttering that the human was already dead. Some said no one who followed her ever returned the same. As she turned, he walked behind her, his steps steady, his face unreadable. Yet inside, he felt a cold tension wrapping around him. The air seemed heavier as they moved away from the busy stalls into quieter halls. The station lights flickered for a moment, and in the shadows he thought he heard something. Not words, not footsteps, but a soft, distant sound. Like a cry hidden behind the walls. He looked at her back as she walked ahead. Tall and graceful, her presence was powerful, but something about her shoulders seemed heavy, like she carried an invisible chain. The human whispered to himself, "Too handsome to leave, huh?" He gave a small laugh, but his laugh faded quickly. The strange sound in the walls came again. Louder this time. It was not in his mind. It was real. He did not know it yet, but this night would not end with smiles or simple answers. It would end with tears and with screams that the station had not heard in years. The invitation. The alien woman moved ahead through the long metallic hallways of the station. The human followed her, his steps slow but steady, behind them. The market noise grew faint until only the hum of engines filled the air. The walls around them were lined with old marks, scratches, and strange symbols. They looked like scars of battles no one cared to repair. The woman did not look back. She walked with the grace of someone who owned every step. The human's eyes kept watching her. noticing details no one else dared to notice. Her back was straight. Her silver skin glowed faintly under the dim lights, but there was something heavy about her shoulders. He could see she carried pain even if she tried to hide it. Finally, they reached a large iron door. It was taller than both of them, carved with symbols that seemed older than the station itself. She placed her palm on the surface and the door opened with a deep echo. A cold wind brushed against the human's face. Inside was not a room but a hall wide and long. The walls were filled with relics, broken weapons, cracked helmets and banners of forgotten empires. Dim blue flames burned in tall glass containers, giving the place a ghostly light. The human stepped in slowly. His boots echoed on the stone-like floor. He looked around, confused. "This doesn't look like a living place," he said. She turned to him, her eyes shining faintly. "It is not. This is where I keep memories and where I test courage." Her words made him pause. He looked at her carefully. "Test? Are you saying I am here for a test?" She walked closer, her voice soft but sharp. "You could have left, you did not. That choice has weight. Now I want to know why you stayed." The human crossed his arms. "Maybe I stayed because I don't like being told what to do." He gave a small smile. "Or maybe I'm just curious." Her lips curved slightly, but there was no joy. "Curiosity is dangerous here," she whispered. As they spoke, the air inside the hall grew colder. The blue flames flickered. A faint sound echoed from deep inside the walls. It was not the wind, it was like a cry, soft, broken, and full of pain. The human felt the hair on his neck rise. He turned his head sharply, scanning the shadows. "What was that?" he asked. She did not answer at once. Her eyes lowered, then lifted again. "That," she said slowly, "is why I brought you here." He frowned. "I thought you brought me here because I was too handsome to leave." Her eyes locked on his, sharp and unblinking. Those words were not just desire. They were warning. The sound came again, louder this time, like chains dragging across stone. The human's chest tightened, but he forced himself not to step back. She walked toward a tall relic at the center of the hall. It was a broken throne, cracked and dark. She touched it with her hand, her silver skin against the cold surface. "Do you know why they fear me?" she asked. The human shook his head. "Because you kill people?" She turned, her eyes filled with something darker. "Because they believe I am cursed. They believe anyone who stays near me will die screaming." The human felt a chill, but his voice stayed steady. "And you brought me here anyway?" Her lips pressed together. "Because you are human and humans are not like the others. You resist things that should break you. I need to see if that is true." The human stared at her, his jaw tight. "So I am not a guest, I am an experiment." Before she could answer, the hall shuddered, the flames flickered violently, and a sharp sound tore through the silence. This time it was not a soft cry. It was a scream, high and unbearable, like metal tearing against bone. The sound filled every corner of the chamber. The human's fists clenched. His eyes darted around the hall, searching the shadows. He felt something move at the edge of his vision, something black and shifting like smoke, but heavier, thicker. She stepped closer to him, her voice urgent now. "Do not run. If you run, it will chase. If you face it, maybe it will pause." The human turned to her, his eyes wide but burning with fire. "You could have told me before we walked in here." She shook her head, her voice trembling for the first time. "If I told you, you would not have stayed." The sound came again, louder, closer. The shadows stretched across the floor like claws reaching for them. The air grew heavy, pressing against their lungs. The human took one slow breath, his voice was low, steady. "Fine, I'll face it, but you're going to tell me everything after this." She looked at him, and for the first time her sharp, strong face showed fear mixed with something softer. Hope. The chamber lights flickered, the shadows thickened, and then the scream came once more. So sharp that even the ancient relics trembled. The night had only just begun, and the true test was waiting in the darkness. The night turns dark. The human stood in the center of the hall, the cold air pressing against his skin. The relics around him seemed alive, their broken shapes casting long, sharp shadows under the flickering blue flames. The alien woman stayed close, but even she did not hide the tension in her breath. The scream had faded, but its echo still rang in their bones. The human clenched his fists, his voice steady though his heart pounded. "Whatever that thing is, it doesn't want us to leave." The woman nodded slowly. "It is bound here not by chains of metal but by chains of hunger. It feeds on fear, on the weakness inside minds. That is why others died. They broke the moment it touched them. The human's eyes narrowed. And you think I won't? Her gaze locked on his, silver and sharp. I think you might last longer. You are human. You burn in ways others do not. Before he could answer, the flames around the hall bent as if pulled by unseen hands. The temperature dropped so fast that his breath turned into white mist. The air grew thick, heavy, and every sound of the station outside seemed to vanish. Then it came, from the far end of the hall. The shadows thickened, rising like a wall of smoke. Its shape twisted, stretching, folding into forms that never stayed the same. Sometimes it looked like claws, sometimes like faces screaming with no mouths. The air vibrated with its presence. The human felt it brush against his mind, a cold hand pressing into his thoughts. His jaw tightened, sweat formed on his forehead, but he forced himself to glare at it. If you think I'll break easy, you chose the wrong human. The shadow twisted as if answering with a soundless laugh. The woman stepped forward, her voice firm but strained. Do not speak to it too long. Its whispers crawl deeper than you know. The human gritted his teeth. Too late. He could already feel the strange weight inside his chest, memories flashing like broken glass. He saw moments of pain from his past, battles lost, friends gone. The creature fed on them, pulling them closer. The woman moved beside him, her hand almost touching his shoulder but stopping short. Focus, do not let it take your core. Think of something it cannot use, something it cannot twist. The human closed his eyes for a second. He remembered laughter. Simple laughter around a campfire on a ruined Earth colony. He remembered a promise he made to himself, that no matter what the galaxy threw at him, he would never bend when he opened his eyes again. The shadow had grown closer, its edges wrapping around the throne in the center. The scream returned, this time so sharp the relics shook. Helmets fell from shelves. Banners ripped open as if cut by invisible blades. The woman's face paled. It's stronger than before, she whispered. The human smirked, though his heart raced. Good. I like a challenge. The shadow lunged, not with claws, but with a wave of crushing weight. The human dropped to one knee, his head ringing with images that were not his. He saw burning cities, endless graves, and faces he did not know, all crying out in despair. The force tried to drown him in misery, but through the storm he forced himself to speak. His voice rough but unbroken. You don't scare me, I've seen worse. I've lived worse. The hall trembled. The creature seemed to pause, confused, as if no one had ever spoken back with such defiance. The woman's eyes widened, a flicker of hope lighting in her expression. Still the pressure grew. The human's body shook, his muscles strained, his vision blurred, and blood ran from his nose, yet he lifted his head, his voice louder. I don't run, I don't break, not for you, not for anyone. The shadow reeled, its shape breaking apart for a moment before reforming. The scream turned into a roar, deep and endless, shaking the hall like thunder. The blue flames burst, some dying, plunging half the chamber into blackness. The woman shouted over the noise, her voice raw. It is testing you. If you survive this, it will show its true form. The human spat blood onto the floor and grinned. Then let's get to the real fight. The creature swirled around them now, covering the walls, the ceiling, even the floor. The hall no longer looked like a place of relics, but like a cage of shadows. The sound of chains dragged across their ears. Though no chains were there, the human stood, pushing against the crushing weight. His body trembled, but his spirit blazed. His scream ripped through the hall, not of fear, but of fury, raw and human. The woman stared at him in awe, her lips parting. No one ever screamed back at it, she whispered. The shadows froze for a heartbeat, as if uncertain. The night had turned darker than he imagined, but in that darkness, something new had begun. The fight between human defiance and the hunger of a forgotten nightmare. And the station walls would remember this clash for centuries. The hidden truth. The hall was shaking. The blue flames almost gone, leaving only small sparks of light. The human stood breathing hard, his fists clenched, his face pale but unbroken. The shadow hissed around him, twisting as if confused. It had crushed so many before, but this one human still stood. The alien woman stepped closer, her silver skin glowing faintly in the darkness. Her eyes were wide, filled with something the human had not seen before. Hope mixed with fear. She whispered, You lasted longer than anyone. You should have broken already. The human gave a tired smile. Blood on his lips. Sorry to disappoint, the shadow roared. The sound deep like mountains splitting apart. The air pressed heavier, but then, for a moment, it drew back. Hiding in the edges of the chamber, almost as if watching, the woman turned to him. Her voice low, trembling. "You need to know the truth now. Before it decides to strike again." He wiped his mouth, his eyes sharp on her. "Then talk. I want to know what I'm fighting." She looked down at the broken throne, her hand brushing its cold surface. "This hall is not just a room of relics, it is a prison. Long ago, my people captured something they could not destroy. A predator from the dark void between stars. It fed on minds, on fear, on screams. It destroyed fleets without firing a shot, because soldiers killed themselves before the battle even began." The human's jaw tightened. "And they trapped it here?" She nodded slowly, her voice heavy. "Yes, bound by rituals older than my bloodline. But the chains are not strong, it leaks into whoever is near. I was born inside this station. My family was its keepers. But the curse fell on me." Her eyes lowered, pain sharp in her voice. "Every soul who came close to me, every partner I ever chose. It killed them, it used me as the door. It tasted their fear through me. That is why they say I am cursed. That is why they fear me." The human studied her face, his voice calm but cutting. "And you brought me here knowing all this." Her lips pressed together, her hands trembling. "Yes, because you are human and humans have a fire inside. You endure where others break, I thought. Maybe you could face it. Maybe you could stand where others fell." The human's eyes burned with anger. "So I'm just a gamble. A last experiment for your curse?" Her eyes shone wet in the dim light. "No," she whispered. "You are my last hope." The shadow hissed louder now, its shape pressing against the throne, stretching higher. Faces appeared in its smoke. Faces of those who had screamed before, their mouths open wide in endless agony. The sound of chains clattered, though none could be seen. The human stepped forward, his voice rising. "I don't care what it is. Predator or curse, it doesn't get to take me. It doesn't get to take anyone else." The woman's breath caught. She looked at him with disbelief. "You would fight it? Even knowing what it does?" He smirked through the blood on his lips. "Lady, fighting impossible things is what humans do best." The hall shook violently, the predator no longer waiting. Its darkness slammed toward them like a storm. The woman screamed, "It's angry, you provoked it!" The human stood tall, his eyes blazing. "Good, let it be angry. Anger means it can feel, and if it can feel, it can lose." The shadow roared, and the chamber almost collapsed under its sound. The relics shattered, helmets cracked, banners burned away into dust. The predator's form swelled into something monstrous, a beast of endless mouths and endless screams. The woman fell to her knees, clutching her head. "It's too strong, you cannot win." The human grabbed her arm, pulling her up. His voice was fierce. "Don't give me cannot. I didn't come this far to kneel, stand with me, or stay down. But I'm not letting this thing win." Her silver eyes widened, her body trembled. But for the first time she felt something strange. His will wrapping around her like a shield. His defiance pushing against the creature's hunger. The predator screamed again, but this time its sound shook. As if weakened, the human stepped forward, yelling back, "You hear me? I'm not afraid of you. I'm human and I don't break." The air cracked like thunder, the predator's shadow tearing at its edges. The woman gasped, "It's retreating." No one ever forced it back before. The human's chest rose and fell, his voice raw. Then maybe it finally met its match. The hall went silent for a moment, the creature pulling into the corners like smoke sucked by the wind. The blue flames returned faintly. The silence felt heavier than the roar, as if the night itself was holding its breath. The woman stared at him, her eyes full of tears she had not shed in years. "You are not like the others. You should have been broken. You should have been screaming, but you—" Her voice caught. "You screamed back." The human looked at her, steady. "Yeah, and I'll keep screaming until it lets you go." For the first time, her voice softened with something like hope. "Then maybe the curse ends tonight, but in the shadows." The predator shifted, waiting, watching. Not destroyed yet, not gone, but marked for the first time by something it had never known. Fear of a human. Tears and fire, the hall was silent. Yet heavy with tension, the blue flames burned weakly, their light shaking. In the corners, the predator's shadow moved like smoke ready to strike again. The human stood tall, chest rising and falling. His body bruised and bleeding, but his eyes burned with fire. The alien woman stared at him, her silver eyes wet with tears. She whispered, No one ever stood this long. No one ever made it pause. You are different. The human wiped blood from his mouth, smirking faintly. Different's a word I've heard a lot. Never thought it'd keep me alive, the shadow hissed. Its form swelling once more. This time it grew larger than the hall itself. Its body stretching against the walls, its mouths opened wide, releasing screams so sharp they made the relics split and the throne crack further. The sound was unbearable. The woman covered her ears, falling to her knees. It's angry now. It will not stop until you break. The human grabbed her hand, pulling her up. His grip was strong, steady. Then we make it stop. Not just for me, but for you, for everyone it killed. She looked at him in shock, her voice shaking. Why would you care? You don't even know them. You don't even know me. He stared back at her, fire in his eyes. Because I'm human, and humans don't walk away from screams. The shadow roared again, throwing itself at them like a storm of chains and claws. The air shattered with its power. The ground shook as cracks ran across the floor. The human stepped forward, placing himself between the creature and the woman. His voice rose loud and raw. You think you own her? You think you own fear, but tonight you learn one thing. Humans don't belong to monsters. The creature slammed against him, forcing him back. His bones screamed with pain. His vision blurred, but he screamed louder, pushing forward. His roar echoed through the chamber. A sound of pure defiance, the woman gasped, seeing the shadow recoil as if his voice burned it. Your scream. It hurts it, she whispered. It has never known that before. The human gritted his teeth, screaming again, louder, until the chamber itself trembled. The predator's form cracked, pieces of shadow breaking into black dust. The creature writhed, its screams turning from hunger to pain. The woman stepped beside him now, her voice strong. Then I will scream too, she raised her voice, her silver eyes glowing bright, and together their voices shook the hall. The predator howled, its massive form splitting apart, its many mouths tearing into nothingness, its chains of shadow snapping one by one. With every scream from them, the creature broke more, its power collapsing. The blue flames roared to life, burning brighter than ever, filling the chamber with light. The shadow tried one last strike, a desperate wave of black smoke rushing toward them. The human held the woman close, his voice breaking but strong. Not today, he roared, and with that final scream, the predator shattered into nothing, exploding like ash in a storm. The sound cut off, leaving only silence. The chamber fell still, the relics broken. The throne turned to dust, but the air was finally clean. The weight was gone, the screams were gone. The woman collapsed to the floor, tears running down her cheeks, her voice broke. It's gone for the first time in centuries. It's gone. The human knelt beside her, his hand steady on her shoulder. No curse lasts forever. Not when you fight it, she looked at him, eyes shining. I told you that you were too handsome to leave, but I was wrong. Her lips trembled. You were too strong to fall. The human smiled faintly, his body trembling from exhaustion. I'll take that, he said softly. Tears fell freely down her silver face, not of sorrow, but of release. She had carried the curse all her life, but now, because of one human, it was gone. The silence felt like freedom. Outside, the station stirred, as if the walls themselves had been waiting. For the first time in years, no cries echoed in the dark halls. The human stood slowly, offering his hand to her. Come on, time to leave this place. Time to live. She took his hand, rising, her body shaking, but her heart lighter than ever before. Together they walked out of the broken hall, leaving the dust of the predator behind. And though the galaxy would never know what happened that night, the walls of the station would remember. The night when unbearable screams were silenced by human defiance.